wonderful poets. So our first poet is Holly Jaffe. Holly is a local talent. Holly Jaffe was born in Fredonia, New York. She studied at Fredonia State University. Her poetry is confessional, most always quirky, and holds very little back. She's been published at Red Fez, Unlikely Stories, Cleft Jew, Virgo Gray Press, South Florida Poetry Journal, and Carcinogenic Poetry. She lives in South Florida with her husband and 2 dogs. And with that, I give you Holly Jaffe. Holly?
Hello. So I decided today I really didn't want to read poems that I've read to most of you over and over. So there might be one in here. There are a few fairly new poems and then one that you absolutely haven't heard. So you guys will be my guinea pigs on that one. So first I'm going to start out with the pomegranate before me. This was a prompt. So anyway, the pomegranate before me. Avant-garde fruit. Christmas ball too heavy to hang on the tree. Cinderella's coach in a collector's garage. Child's ball found in late November. Live grenade in the Tel Aviv market. A Bible in a roadside motel like a silent siren. A woman's severed breast in the hands of her surgeon. Jesus' broken heart too heavy in a little girl's hands. Pomegranate halved on a white plate. The ravenous tongue of a vampire. Cocoon of rare red butterflies. If caviar was a fruit. A gypsy's rosary beads. A nun's red dreams. The dimples of a cherub. A manic mind abundant with the fine rare red rubies of brilliance. The sudden smear of crimson upon a young girl's sheets. If the pomegranate was a woman, her name is Isabella or Francesca. She's curvy. She sings habanera from Carmen in the shower. She sleeps till noon. Her favorite breakfast is chocolate cake and a deluge of heavy cream. She licks her fingers. She's the panacea for your bad day, for your foul mood. Every bit of her sweet on your tongue. But know her love for you is fleeting as childhood, and you'll never be able to shake her off. You'll carry her with you like a rock anthem, like folklore, like a mother's lullaby, and no woman will ever compare. This was also a prompt, and I have read this here. It is about masturbation, but it's not too masturbation and being Catholic. I can see the moon from my bedroom window, and I believe he's winking. In June of 1976, I stole a copy of the Kama Sutra from a garage sale. I never read the pages, but became aroused by the photos, the entanglements, and the gazes. Everything became sexual that summer, the armrests and the doorknobs. Well, you know. Masturbation is the devil's wish for you as often as you can, he insists. My mom says you'll go blind or insane or both. But I smothered at the evil, and the evil was kinky and begged for more and more of me. Afterwards, I cried every single time. My vision dimmed and my thoughts teetered. It was unfair how torment and pleasure were inseparable. But the breezes from my bedroom window that cooled my flushed face were a kind of forgiveness. The best way to peel an orange is to gouge its thick skin with your thumb till you reach its juicy innards. It's natural to explore, to want to get to the extract of your own body. I've always been afraid to climb trees. Actually, it wasn't the climbing up but coming down that frightened me most. Testing the branches and finding my footing just to come back to shame. Masturbating was like tree climbing. The climb to the top was an exhilarating escape into the branches. I wanted to be closer to the moon. And the moon told me, God isn't watching. You're beautiful when you let go. Let go. Let yourself go. This one I've read before. It was published in South Florida Poetry Journal. The year our father left home. She spends most days in her garden of rocks, weeds, and pinwheels. Presently, she is full-blown mad. A week ago, we hoped it was just a bad day when she left the crust on our sandwiches and let the house cats out into the yard. She lays at the foot of our beds, fully dressed and her shoes muddy and fastened to her feet. She scoops up rocks, places them into a wheelbarrow, and takes them to a pond a mile down the road. She empties the bird bath after every rain and screams at the finches and takes a rake to the tree branches. She curses the gray skies and accumulation of clouds. You see, she has these premonitions. She sees herself as clear as day, stoning us in our bedrooms while we sleep. She'll wash her bloody hands in the bird bath. The birds will dip their beaks into the pale pink, ravenous as turkey vultures. Egg brain. My brain is hard-boiled and cracked, and the stench permeates into the walls, the carpet, and beneath my nail beds. Every morning I rise to an unraveling. Each appendage is like a doorstop of fabric filled with steel-shot beads. Every day is cursed with minutes like hours, and getting to the end of the day without a scream is a devilish marvel. I beg to be the thoughtless crumbs I scrape into the damp oblivion of the garbage disposal, and I have fallen into mad love with the vulnerability of my wrists. The kindest moments are the moments I remain in the driveway in my car listening to Chopin and staring into our big window. My 3 young sons and their daddy are setting the table, and I'm struck by the beauty of their choreographed dinner routines. My oldest folds napkins and positions flatware, while the middle son fills cups and glasses with milk, water, and juice. The youngest runs from the living room into the kitchen and giggles as he slides on the tiled floor into the trash can and screams home run. My husband plates 3 food groups and passes them on to each son. I wish them a different mother, a mom who doesn't wear her sons around her neck like crosses, who needs them more than they need her. I sometimes lift my smallest son from a deep slumber and just hold him. So anyways, I remain in the car for a few more minutes, ice cream melting and Chopin wailing. I continue to stare into the TV screen, which is my home, and I think today will go down without blood. Sorry, I'm thinking. All right, I just have 2 more. So this one is called Ophelia, and it was inspired by a trip to New Orleans, and there was a fortune teller. Everything else is pretty much fiction, but anyway. Her orange afro was a flame on a starless night. Her pregnant belly, 5 months or more, blanketed in polyester and sequins like a faux Fabergé egg. Her eyes were like snake fruit, split wide open. Her smile was wide and beautiful, like a young Angela Davis. I myself was 6 months along. I passed her 3 times while my husband drank shots of bourbon and flirted with the tattooed barmaid who flirted back to ensure a generous tip. As I looked away at each pass of her table of tarot cards, wooden beads, and dollar store candles, I felt more strongly that she knew something that would break my heart. At the 4th pass, she pulled me in. Her baby's daddy watched on from his red pickup, leaned up against the truck bed with a 6-pack at his feet. I said to her, I believe enough to be nervous. I don't want to know what my future is, bad or good. I just don't. And she didn't try to sell me. She admitted she overheard my man say, no fucking way, to the Blue Plates Cafe's peach cobbler, you're fat. Are you sure you're even pregnant? She said her man was no kinder. Her breath was sweet, like Chex Mix, as she came in close and said, my mama makes the best peach cobbler this side of the Mississippi. So Ophelia and I ditched our men and we hitched a ride to her mama's pink house leaning towards the water's edge. We ate peach cobbler from cracked blue bowls, filling tarnished spoons with equal portions of cobbler and fresh cream. We swayed on a lime green porch swing, sipped iced black tea from mason jars sticky with peach syrup, sweetened with honey and startled with a fair amount of whiskey. It was there on that pink porch that her mama told me the awful truth. There was no crystal ball. There was no Rorschach of tea leaves or death card. Maybe a touch of madness like a cat. She could sense the good, the not so good, and the malignant. She looked at me with her sensible, gentle eyes, and she said it, and I had no doubt. She held my trembling hands and laid them upon my swollen belly, my Nathan as still as the wetlands. I wept while she chanted in cradles, sweet baby, sweet baby. I rocked him in a lime green porch swing, our tummies filled with sweetness, him and I, cradled on the branches of the red maples and baptized in the hushed waters of the bayou. So I have one more. This is about my son, Ryan, who's here. And I've written a lot about this, but anyway, this is about him. The elementary years, those boys whose mother said, boys will be boys, decided you would be the unpopular one. He doesn't fight back, his teacher says, reduced, bruised little arm, gutted. Mom, it wasn't what I said as much as how I said it, I guess. With a giggle like a faggot, the cool ones chanted. Handcuffed to a tree, spat on. Are you gay? Do you touch your little brothers? Gay boy. Hey, gay boy, fight back, bitch. He tells me of these crimes too many years later when a mom's retaliation would make little sense. When the ringmaster is married with his own children. Now when I see him, the bully, he's as polite as a concierge. Hi, Mrs. Jaffe, may I hold that open for you? How's the family? How's Ryan? His regret, I hope. Middle school, lone blue pill beneath my floor mat. Young men and women coming and going from our home. I buried my head and I chose popularity. High school, no snitching, a code, liar, thief, dealer, no prom, no graduation. Supplies, tinfoil, hollow pens, lighter, small blue pills. He has become the minimalist architect of his own happiness. Halved at the end of his bed, teetering bowl of fruity pebbles on his lap, smudged eyes and fingertips, naked, swollen feet, ashen face, sores, sunken eyes, thrush. You can't judge a book by its cover, man. This kid is filled with unimaginable joy. His insides are luminous. He walks through his days like he's walking through peanut butter. I scream his name like the house is on fire, but he's chasing a feeling, like a child netting butterflies, jarring ladybugs, something winged and holy, something so beautiful. He's climbing the sky as crazy as that sounds. He's safe in the embrace of a lioness, and she's licking his wounds clean. He's swaddled in cashmere, no, something much softer than cashmere, anything you can't imagine, a feeling so, so sweet. At first you retch. His body is orgasm. He's loved. Why would he come home to a plate of meatloaf and peas? To feelings. No one is ever hungry where he goes. His eyes open, startled, as if he's been yanked from the womb again. I go back to his yellow nursery, menagerie of birds, big eyes, lullaby. Sway and drunk on breast milk. Good night, moon. Good night, stars. Good night, curious cats. Good night, brave stuffed bear. Low cadence, tonic, rocking, our yellow room, our womb. In our room, our days were kind for a brief time. And then I send him off like a lamb to the wolves. I wished you here as my kind of savior. I couldn't keep you tucked away forever. I had to push you out of me. I had to see if you were real. And you and I were blessed, and I'm blessed.
Thank you, Holly. Gorgeous stuff as usual. Thank you for reading. Okay, I just want to make a reminder about Zoom etiquette. If you're going to move around or eating a big ham sandwich, if you could just turn the Zoom off long enough to, not distract us, we'd appreciate it. Okay, thank you. All right, and I'll introduce our second poet. I believe that Judy opened up the chat. We close it down when people are reading, so now's the time to send Holly your comments about her reading, and because the chat is open now. Okay, thank you. All right, so our second poet, Birdman, or Victor Johnson, was born in Benton Harbor, Michigan, and has been living in Lansing, Michigan, Sebring, Florida, and Houston, Texas for the past 35 years. He graduated from John Wesley College with a BA in Social Science, certificate in Computer Tech from JTI, and an AA from ITT in Network Systems Administration. Birdman313 is the author of 10 published poetry books and 4 published poetry chapbooks. He has been published in Forward Times newspaper, Silver Birch Press, Storm Magazine, Harbinger Asylum, Indiana Review newsletter, the Permain Basin Poetry Society, Expressions Anthology, Dandelion in a Vase of Roses, Waco Word Fest Anthology, Nomads Choir Poetry Journey, Blue Hole Poetry Festival Anthology, Lansing Arts and Poetry Journal, and Our Verse magazine, along with several newsletters. Recipient of several Editor's Choice Awards and 1 International Award for Poetry, Birdman participates in readings at several open mics and in Zoom, Skype, and WebEx online poetry events. His video, Forgotten Time, won first place in the Light Poetic Ministry Poetry Video Contest. Birdman also hosted the Spoken Word Contest at the National Black Book Festival in Houston, Texas for 8 years. And with that, I give you Birdman.
Thank you, Susan and Judy, for inviting me to come and read. I'm gonna read. I turned my background off so you can see. I'm gonna read from. Can you see that? This is actually my 9th poetry book, Poems by Birdman313. Actually, the cover is from. Oh man, I just know it's out in Vegas. So I always forget when I get on camera. Valley of Fire. That's where it's from. Sorry about that. The first poem I'm gonna read, I do a lot of nature poems. So this first one is titled Peace by the Sea. I sit on a lonely beach, looking at footprints in the sand. Thousands of miles of the bay can be seen for eternity as waves wash upon the shoreline. While the wind moves the sand across the beach, seagulls squawk and fly over. No other living creatures make a sound so as not to disturb the peace of the sea and sky. Silence wraps around the beach as the sun shines silently. When its daily race is run, it sinks softly down into the sea. I sit alone on the beach on a lonely day, watching the waves wash away the sand. As I close my eyes, the cool mist relaxes my mind and soul. Once again, I'm left alone on the beach. No matter what happens on the beach, the water constantly moves. With every crash of the blue waves, stress washes away. Okay, and the second one, I watch a lot of Alfred Hitchcock and Stephen King, so this is kind of like help me with this one. It's titled Cracks in the Wall. Through the cracks in the wall, in the darkness of the night, came a supernatural light. Nothing too significant, just a soft glow in the dark. Then came the sound of something creepy, a few weird voices screaming. They whispered between the walls in a ghostly game of who is it? They call your name like they really know you in a night full of echoes and hisses. If only these eyes would bear the hurt and leave it isolated within the cracks. These walls have a strong foundation, but light can always break through the cracks. Hidden drama is within these cracks in the wall. Once buried in these dreams of humility, walls fall down as revelations abound. Tomorrow has a bright future, but is now trashed by yesterday's sin. Ooh. This next one is kind of like a personal one, but a lot of my friends, they talk about it and they said they could relate to it. It's titled Invisible Scars. As I look into the mirror, only I can see and feel the invisible scars. The images stare back at me. Being bullied as a young child by the neighborhood kids. My biological family and adults made scars that have followed me throughout my life. The after effects have caused me to mistrust people and struggle with self-confidence. These events made me feel nervous whenever I go out. My mind has been poisoned with negativity by the invisible scars left behind. Sometimes talking to people brings a brighter light for the future. I know there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but it starts to fade because my mind begins to play tricks on me. In silence, tears sometimes fall after talking to a family and friends. I begin to feel the confidence grow inside. I must not let these scars darken my mind because stored memories are like a computer that can replay through your head every day. I must allow love to flow through me to heal the invisible scars and make them disappear. I actually have a video of this on my YouTube channel, and it was video in Las Vegas when I did it. Now I'm gonna read from my newly released Poetry in Flight that was released last month. These are short poems here. So, dark dreams. While in the dark, I sit alone, and broken image of a man without a soul, trying to block out past pains. The constant voices are not my own. A forgotten path has somehow resurfaced. I scream out in the dark at the frightening dreams, nightmares, and shadows that only I can see. No one will ever know what images appear, even for a moment. While for some, the dark can be a place to rest, but for others, it is a place to relive the past with dark dreams. My next one, let me get to it. It's titled The Whistling Wind. While the wind whistled past my ears, I closed my eyes to all of my fears. The waves crashed onto the rocks, but I paid no attention to any clocks. Serenity is felt and soothes my mind. It is a day that is often very hard to find. The breeze calms my soul as I consider my life's goal. I sit on this beach while looking out to sea, knowing this is where I want to be. Looking up at the deep blue sky, hearing seagulls make a relaxing cry. I know I should be right here. As the clouds roam by, they seem so near. The soothing of nature on this afternoon is so beautiful, it's not even June. And my next one is titled Deep Inside. There will be a moment in life when you either move forwards or backwards. Sometimes you can feel when a change is coming. Some days you want to live forever, and other days you only want to live once. Scar tissues replaces the beauty. The tears well up when there is no joy. Thinking of life turning into space dust once again. The wind will carry your tears and scatter them everywhere. When I look back on my life, I see pain, mistakes, and heartaches. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see strength, lessons learned, and pride in myself. And this poem here, when I wrote this poem, I love jazz, and I was listening to Paul Hardcastle at the time. He has a song called 1,000 Miles from Nowhere. And as I was writing this, that's the title I used. And it's funny because right after that, 2 hours later, I found out there was a commercial by the name of 1,000 Miles from Nowhere. So here's my version. There are times when my mind is blank, searching for the words that don't want to flow. Poems just don't seem to be released. Rather than borrow from some other source, I just leave it alone because these words are 1,000 miles from nowhere. I wait for the words to begin emerging from within so I can once again be blessed. My hands wait for the words to flow from my mind to the pen, to the paper. These days, time seems so long and lonely, with a few places to go to release the imagination. We all must travel somewhere, somehow, to see family and friends, even if it is 1,000 miles from nowhere. History has all but warned us that a shutdown was coming. Wanting to visit a mysterious little town with an open landscape, while names are spoken in a whispering tone with none spoken out loud. A magical spell seems so relaxing, like riding on a cloud. No one could retrace my steps because leaving this place would be 1,000 miles from nowhere. Placing my footprints where I originally came from in the beginning. Tracing what brought me to this place. Knowing you will not find me. Now it is time to leave this place. This is where walking backwards will give a vision of how things have changed. Please don't look for me. You will find that I am nowhere to be found. I will be 1,000 miles from nowhere. I have time for one more. Okay, and this one here, actually, this one here is going to be in my next book, which it's already done. I just got to get it edited and well, no, it's edited. I just got to put the cover together. And actually, this poem was accepted in Our Verse magazine journal, and it's titled Forest. It was written after we went through the forest up in Muirwood. While walking through a dense forest, we hear the crackling of the twigs and leaves that have fallen on the ground. Along the trail of a perfect forest, a fog appears to be rolling in. Here in the forest, the air is crisp. As the wind is so intimate with the trees, leaves again begin to fall. The pines and birches have settled on a path that leads through the forest. A subtle fragrance of pine fills the air as the sun speaks. Through portions of the branches and leaves, 1,000 sweet enchantments scatter our thoughts, wandering deeper into the forest to gather our dreams that have surfaced. Feeling the deep spirit that sends a fragrance of green and spicy cedar as the wind blows. We cross stumps, harsh rocks, and bridges that have running streams underneath. The scent of forest continues through our stroll while we enjoy the quietness. A few wild animals, birds feel safe as this is their home. This is where we can hold a small, calm communion of solitude. Thank you for listening.
Very nice.
Thank you, Birdman. So if you would, you can put your comments in the chat, please, for Birdman313, and we'd appreciate that. And so we're going to move to our open mic section. And we just asked that our open mic poets read approximately 5 minutes or less. If that's more than one poem, please stick to the time guidelines so that everyone on the open mic list has an opportunity to read. Before we go to the open mic, I just want to just say thank you to both Holly Jaffe and Birdman313 for doing such a wonderful job today as our featured poets. We really appreciate your artistic endeavors. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to read a transitional poem. This is moving into our open mic by Philip Levine. It's called The Simple Truth. I bought $1.50's worth of small red potatoes, took them home, boiled them in their jackets, and ate them for dinner with a little butter and salt. Then I walked through the dried fields on the edge of town. In middle June, the light hung on in the dark furrows at my feet, and in the mountain oaks overhead, the birds were gathering for the night, the jays and mockers squawking back and forth, the finches still darting into the dusty light. The woman who sold me the potatoes was from Poland. She was someone out of my childhood in a pink spangled sweater and sunglasses, praising the perfection of all her fruits and vegetables at the roadside stand and urging me to taste even the pale, raw, sweet corn trucked all the way, she swore, from New Jersey. Eat, eat, she said. Even if you don't, I'll say you did. Some things you know all your life. They are so simple and true. They must be said without elegance, meter, and rhyme. They must be laid on the table beside the salt shaker, the glass of water, the absence of light gathering in the shadows of picture frames. They must be naked and alone. They must stand for themselves. My friend Henri and I arrived at this together in 1965 before I went away, before he began to kill himself, and the two of us to betray our love. Can you taste what I'm saying? It is onions or potatoes, a pinch of simple salt, the wealth of melting butter. It is obvious. It stays in the back of your throat like truth you never uttered because the time was always wrong. It stays there for the rest of your life, unspoken, made of that dirt we call earth, the metal we call salt, in a form we have no words for, and you live on it. Philip Levine, The Simple Truth. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to announce I'll announce the readers three at a time. So our first reader is going to be Jamie White, then Chris Thurston, then John Nokovich. So Jamie. You're still muted, Jamie. There you go.
Thank you very much. I love listening to the featured readers. Stays with me for a long time. You all are great. This is a seasonal poem. Kindred to the sun. All of a sudden, it's September. Summer in the rearview mirror. Fall's been slyly infiltrating. Morning chill gives way to midday warmth, gives way to shorter afternoons. Constant cicada buzz, less and less each day. Sad, the high sun season moving on, your eyes drawn to the cloud-swept blue sky, migratory instincts abound. Star and planet revolve together. Sinking sun weaves lengthening shadows, gentle urgency of this early fall. Each year is a burning ember, more ash than flame by September. And this is at least as much a rant as a poem, but what the heck, you're stuck listening. They say you don't need a laugh track these days. Life gets more ridiculous all the time. The news hasn't been new for years. The way things are ought to be a crime. Everyone has an opinion. These days, opinions are the same as facts. They say everything's relative. Everything doesn't add up. It subtracts. Modern times take getting used to. Computers get smarter. We get dumber. They say people have sex with them. When their mainframe dies, it's such a bummer. They say we need priorities. Missed opportunities will haunt my days. If asked what you're willing to do, depends on what the position pays. Two places you'll never see me, ahead of my time or in the spotlight. Nobody knows what I look like. I don't worry about my cellulite. If Cole Porter could see us now, I bet he could write a #1 song about the stupid things people say. They believe they are never wrong. I say the 21st century ain't looking too good for humanity. The world keeps spinning until it doesn't. I was here until I wasn't. We never know the appointed hour. They say a weed is an unloved flower. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. Okay, so next is Chris Thurston, then John Nokovich, and then Joan Leon.
So I love rants, so thank you, Jamie. So this is my September 11th poem, which I'm reading, although it's September 12th. And one context is that at the time that this was placed, my son had had his 3rd serious stroke. So he also, as well as my father, was in the hospital and rehab. This is September 11, 2011. In 1955, it rained the day after Labor Day, September 4th. I stood on a kitchen chair as my mother circled me, inspecting the hem on my twirly skirt, all the colors of the rainbow. It was the first day of school. I remember it when I see kindergarten children walking home, splashing in the rain, 10 years after 9/11. On the first day of school in 2001, my mother was dying. I don't recall the weather on September 4th, but that of the 11th is as clear in my memory as that morning sky. By evening, she was in the hospital. Her hold on life weakened even further by the downpour of metal, paper, glass, and dust shown over and over on TV. 12 days later, she was dead, and I mourned her while the sadness and anger of the whole country streamed out around me, my own grief feeling illegitimate, unsubstantial. I'm over it, I think. We all die, my father tells me today from his bed at the rehab, where he'd been sent 3 months before. He was talking about my mother. His fractured shoulder and broken ribs had at last begun to heal. We all die, and that's what it comes down to. All I can do is hold him. I say goodbye and leave. Umbrellas shelter the kindergartners, keeping their construction paper projects dry. Stopped for a light, I watch them, everything feeling as fragile, fleeting, precious as those bright squares of paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Next is John Nokovich, John, and then Joan Leon, and then Lenny.
Okay, hello, thank you for letting me join your group. Okay, this poem is called What Makes Money? What doesn't make money is the fresh scent of a Wisconsin morning. What doesn't make money is the sing-song chirp of the orange-bellied nuthatch, nor does the sweetly written words to a beloved. The treasure of finding a comfortable pair of shoes that fit doesn't make you money. The sweet countenance of a boy's love for his dog has no monetary value. What does make money? Poison batteries dumped into a landfill to make room for more poison batteries. Toxic smoke sticks that are drawn into the lungs to make a thick brown substance of the alveoli. Fermented grapes and hops so bitter that they must be mixed with other chemicals to become palatable. Sex in all its variations makes bank. Pure white powder so dangerous it has to be measured not to kill. Bullets, rockets, warships, nuclear bombs all make money. Lucre like gravity weighs us down, keeping us tethered to the ground. Sifted like gold dust, the soul that I'm looking to find, hoping my spirit drops through the tiny holes, leaving the power of mammon behind. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next is Joan Leon, then Lenny, and then Deborah Di Nicola. Joan?
Do you mean me, Susanna? Okay. It's Joan Leota, but the two T's could have looked like an N when you look at them. So you'd be glad I'm not with my maiden name. That was lots of syllables. So I'm going to read something a little lighter. I thought I would, at first I had picked out something that Highland Park Poetry just did about dance shoes, but after hearing about something else, I decided I would go with food, since that's one of the things I'm known for as a person and a poet, and really even my murder mysteries have to do with food. So here it is. This was published in Silver Birch, a nod there to Birdman, a fellow Silver Bircher. How to make the perfect Southern sandwich. At our weekly lunches, my Georgia-born neighbor, Faye, introduced little Pennsylvania me to her perfect sandwich. A bread spread with a mix of cheddar, roasted red peppers, pimento, and Southern charm. I begged for the secret to the orange-red spread I had never tried before eating it with Faye. What she told me was called pimento cheese. At last, one afternoon, she invited me into her kitchen to demonstrate how, when blended with Duke's mayo, canned pimento punctuates shredded white cheddar with a vinegary spike. Duke's blends it all, Faye whispered. Duke's is the secret, the kiss of the South. We mashed the ingredients together with a fork. Then she smothered white bread slices with a knife full of gold, deftly trimmed off crusts, and with one swift stroke divided the sandwich into triangles, one each. So, Northern girl, what do you think? She asked. I replied, I think I'm buying a jar of Duke's. These sandwiches are perfection. If I have time, I do have another. It's very short also.
Yes, go ahead, Joan.
Okay, it's short. This is the one from Highland Park Poetry. Shoes from 2 dance classes. Clack, clack, clickety. Tap shoes beat out a soft tattoo along the stone floor of Grandma's porch and our kitchen linoleum. I tried to love the soft satin pink ballet slippers from my other class, but they were so aloof. Never speaking, always tisk-tisking me to tighten them so we could glide silently whenever. Sigh, I'm a click-clack, tap-tap kind of girl. I gave away those ballet slippers, very lightly worn, but kept the tap shoes until only my hands could fit in them, and clack-clack them on the floor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joan Leota. Did I say it right this time?
Yes, thanks,
My
Susanna.
apologies. I'm
No
sorry.
problem. It's my husband's name.
Yeah. Okay. So next is Lenny, then Deborah DiNicola, and then finally Michael O'Mara. Okay. So next is Lenny.
Okay, thank you, Susanna. Birdman and Holly, your poems were great. I loved listening to them. I had just finished reading not too long ago A New and Collected by Thomas Lux. And what I did was I took one of the titles of his poems called The Neighborhood of Make-Believe. I loved the title. In fact, I wrote my own poem here with that title. I didn't care for the poem that he wrote, however. So I thought, I'm going to write one. So here's my The Neighborhood of Make-Believe. You should know, I think everybody knows I'm a big Beatle fan, but the first line is basically from Penny Lane by the Beatles. And then there's a reference to a character halfway down the poem, which is from I Am the Walrus by the Beatles. So anyway, The Neighborhood of Make-Believe. On the corner was a banker with a motor car who, with a smile, could turn pennies into cupcakes and salamanders with a wink. My friends and I, in pink fizzing hats, lured hummingbirds and pirates, and on tinfoil chariots and zebras, stole his cakes and beasts when he sneezed. But the crabber locker fishwife saw us steal, turned our tree houses back to matchsticks. We lost the gold that shined our hearts, and even with our magic capes, we could no longer leave the ground. The days of whisper jars in secret places under stones can only be spied upon by fireflies and puppets now, but the likes of them don't come here anymore.
Thanks, Lenny. And next is Deborah DiNicola. Deborah?
Yes, I'm going to read a poem, one of several about my mother's dementia. This is called After the Stroke. Often she speaks of a mysterious they. When are they coming? Where are they? Do they all do that, wear that, eat that? Must we pay them? But she forgets everything in a matter of minutes, rooms, news, rules of a favorite card game. And she forgets. Objects once familiar disappear, surface again in surprising places. Scotch tape in the medicine cabinet, jewelry under the sink, cash in the refrigerator drawer. Still, she wants to help me in the kitchen, sets the table with folded wax paper and sheets of foil for napkins. And she sneaks chocolate pudding for breakfast, watches cartoons or the Spanish soaps. Her eyes grow small and dim in a thinning face. Her hair, which she always wore in a neat French knot, is loose and sparse down her shoulders, although vanity remains intact. She applies mascara to her eyebrows, powders wrinkles flat, blushes her nose, loops a scarf through a buttonhole, clutches an evening bag to her bathrobe. Old friends no longer call. Her daughters have her sister's names. Each night she strings different words in a chain and repeats them 150 times. Sometimes there's a question she means to ask, but she can't find the sentence, sputters sparks instead. She wants to go home when she is home, and when angry with me, my mother hisses, "I hope you live this long."
Thank you, Deborah. And next is Michael O'Mara. Michael.
That boy, 2020, who'd have thunk it? Once upon a time, there was an angry God who slaughtered all the firstborn of Egypt, sulfur stomped Sodom and Gomorrah, hissed with the angels a unicorn killing flood. When I sang, "Make me a channel of your peace," I never meant your rest in peace. I sleep atop a pile of your corpses. Press on. Once upon a time, a research assistant sketched out a hypothesis. One day, boogeymen will jump species like commuters changing trains, and the world slept on it and dreamed it into being, because isn't that really what we do every night? Mash a meat loaf of all our dream nightmares into one world dream nightmare. Didn't Jung say that? Maybe not. Any more than we dream lollipops and rainbows and wake to our teeth aching of sweets. They ache because we grind them in our sleep each night as we eat our enemies' hearts, suck the marrow from their bones, which become drumsticks to move this song along. Press on. Once upon a time, we were carbon and water and amino acids and perhaps a flash of light, and you and you and you were there too, but you couldn't have been, could you? Dancing behind the curtain, I've been that flying monkey and creature feature in between. I wonder if I was ever a tree. I could see me as a raccoon or otter, or lately a hibernating bear, probably a right whale, all oil and blubber. This time, I got old out of the way when I was very young and serious and severe, when life hurt as if someone were pulling the fingernails off of each and every brain cell. Once upon a time. How did I end up in that coffee shop, sitting across from yet another angel? Have you heard of Medjugorje, he asked, and fixed a small pendant to the base of the cross around my neck. If you want to be beautiful, then love, he quoted. Even angels meme. We sipped our lattes. He smiled at everything I said, the way a grandma smiles at a bawling infant. Yes, little one, let it out, let it all out. And he left. For a moment, he kind of pissed me off, but eventually I came out the other side laughing. Every time someone laughs at their stupid self, another angel gets their wings. A friend sent an old photograph of me at 20. I had forgotten in all that pain how beautiful I was. Now, as a grandpa, I need only be kind. It's my tree self that loves the wind most. Setting sun and leaves, Rorschach, the sparse grass. My dead and their familiars peek out at every turn. Their now patient God waits. Press on. Walking home is a wild ride. Squirrels hide and seek, branch to branch, mockingbirds flirt. The sky in its coat of many colors whispers, pay attention, I'm about to come. Shivers and multi-orgasms by proxy.
Thank you, Michael. And last but not least, Amanda Russell. Amanda?
Hello. Let's see. Okay, so I've got two here. And okay. This one is pretty new, and it's one about my son, but it's sort of like embellished a bit. First, pet. Can I take it home? He said, swimming in a 66-degree pool with a big eater beetle in metallic green suit crawling across the plane of his palm, fingers extended for a friend who chose him. And that's how we came to have Pluto, sitting like a little moon held tight in the gravity of our world. Once in a while, I open the lid, check the state of zinnia leaf plucked fresh from the garden, and I see Pluto, clinging with all 6 legs to what's left of his food supply. I wonder what he'll eat in winter. Plan to look it up later. I think of him as I wash our one green bowl. Inside his own glass globe of a planet, still stagnant among so many Legos and blocks. In an orbit he's unable to clear. Part of a micro solar system created by a boy who will never be taught about the 9th planet. And then last one, this is one that is also very new, and it's I've got a crack in my ceiling. You can't see it here, but it's downstairs, and it was sort of inspired by that and just some of the stuff I'm working on right now. And it's tentatively called Book of Common Prayer for Those Who Cannot Move Mountains, page 39. O landlord, I call upon thee, for the ceiling cracks above me, hear me, for the water leaks out of place. It has been recounted of old that Elijah called once before and was told that all ceilings are like that. But a year later, he called again from downstairs with wet socks and carpet, and the landlord heard him, came to survey the damage, and declared unto him, not all ceilings are like that. O landlord, repairs involve process. Do not forget me, lest I despair and go pay to strange gods, casting nickels before geese. If you, mighty as you are, remember me, carve out the time, or at least bring a bucket of instructions to stay off the wolves who roam hungry for mustard seeds and coupon stashes. Hear me, lest I stand again before the universe, who spoke all things into poetry, lest I say unto her, do you not remember me, standing in the desert church, before they tiled out the sky, before the windows glassed against draft and sand, before the walls stood high enough to block out the gladsome light, the evening glory? Hear me, lest I lose my link to memory, lest I rephrase my own history, saying it was easier back then, from a different stage of life, from a different plate of time, with no hungers but my own to feed, lest patience faint mid-wait with no answer at the other end of the line. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. And thanks for joining us. Thank you all for being here today, and a special thanks to our features, Holly Jaffe and Birdman313. And I'd like to tell you who's going to be featuring in October. It'll be our own Michael O'Mara. Michael, give us a wave. And Nicole Tallman. So they'll be featuring in October. In November, we have Denise Duhamel and Dustin Brookshire. And in December, to close out this season, Christine Thurston. Christine, she read at the open mic, there she is, and Michael Heddich. So that's our lineup. We'll see you next time, October 17th. And again, a round of applause for our featured readers. Thank